everybody. This is Dexter B. Jenkins, and welcome to Let's Talk Real Estate.
Yeah.
This is where we gather once a month to talk about, to answer the critical question of how do you use real estate as a wealth creation tool? And we are at the NECTN The Christian Network. Just moved to.
Is this on?
Is this on?
All right.
It's on now? I'm sorry, y'all. I made a mistake. You know the great thing about live TV? Anything can happen. But anyway, welcome to Let's Talk Real Estate. I'm your host, Dexter B. Jenkins. And this is where we get together once a month to talk to answer the critical question of how do you use real estate as a wealth creation tool? Wealth creation. And so real estate is one of the vehicles, not the only, but one of them. And so we have a live studio audience. You guys can do that again. And so what we do is we get some of the best minds in Boston, some of the greatest minds in Boston, the greater Boston area. All right. Don't you love it? Here we go again. All right. Are we ready now again? All right, let's talk real estate. I ain't going to throw that again. Let's talk real estate. We're here to talk about how to use real estate as a wealth creation tool. Like I said, 2 other times, what we do is we get together once a month here in at the station at NECTN Christian Television Network to really answer the questions. I said, how do you become wealthy using this thing called real estate? What I do is, or what we do is we bring in a expert every month to talk about that. And so this month is no different. We have Robert Nichols on Crown Lending, and so I'm gonna let him introduce himself. But just to let you guys know, so if you have any questions, you can email them at to I think Let's Talk Real Estate 12 at I think it's Let's Talk. As a matter of fact, Eddie, if you could throw it up on the screen, it's up there already. All right, Let's Talk Real Estate 12.
Let's talk RE.
Let's talk RE12 at gmail.com. And then obviously we got there's a phone number somewhere that's floating around here. So like I said, we're a little rusty because we haven't done this in a few months. Because we haven't done anything since, June? Yeah. So we haven't done anything June. So we working the kinks out tonight. So next month will be better, y'all. But anyway, without further ado, I want to turn it over to Robert Nichols. Give it up for Rob. Rob, thank you for coming through. Now, Rob is no stranger to us. Some of you guys were here for our event that we did in June, which was phenomenal. It was a real estate wealth creation summit. We had about 150 people there, and we're going to do that again. So we'll talk a little bit more about that on at the end of the show. Okay, so Rob, tell us who you are. Give us a little bit of your background. Now, he has a vast background, so he can't tell everything, but he's going to tell some of it. So,
First and foremost, thanks for having me on tonight, guys. It's a pleasure to join all of you guys live in the studio here. I didn't know it was live when I showed up, but ready for anything, guys. As Dexter said, right? It's live TV, so anything can happen. Definitely just want to start off by introducing myself. I'm Robert Nichols, born and raised in Dorchester. I lived in Roxbury for a little bit. My family immigrated here from the Caribbean, so my mother's from Jamaica, and my dad's family's from Barbados. Coming up as a young kid, I really didn't know what I wanted to do, but I was fortunate to have good folks around me, and I really commend you guys for being in an environment like this because I truly believe transformation starts with who you surround yourself with. And so when I graduated from college, I actually was working at Stop and Shop. I had an internship with them during my college years. And there was a lot I learned along the way. I was there for all 4 years of college, and right after, I met a young man by the name of Farouk Brown. Some of you may know him. He's a local real estate investor in the city of Boston as well. And he kind of started putting that bug in my ear, like, "Hey, brother, you got to get into the real estate game." And really, how he did it was ingenious. But I remember one day, I'll never forget it. We were in a meeting, and we used to have these monthly manager meetings, right, for all the young managers coming in right out of college. And he was like one of the mentors. Right. And he pulled me to the side, and he's like, "Hey, Rob, I got to tell you something. I'll show you something." And he showed me a check for $10,000. Now, this was like 2004, and I was making about $36,000 a year. So he had made almost a third of our salary on one real estate transaction as an agent. And I'm like, man, I was like, okay, if you can make that kind of money doing that, I need to get into this space, because I want, as a young man, I wanted to be successful. I was very ambitious. And so being around people like him really kind of put the bug in my ear. And from there, I got my license as an agent. and I bought my first property. It was a 2-family in Taunton. And then slowly but surely, I created a plan to leave Stop and Shop. I ended up in corporate, and 3 years later in 2008, ended up leaving. And I went to work for a new construction company. And so working for them, it really kind of gave me exposure on a whole different level. They had brought me in as a sales manager. And so as a sales manager, my job was obviously to sell all these new construction units they had. But it was 2008, and you guys know what happened in '08. Yeah, this is the crash, right?
It got rough.
It got real rough.
Got
So
rough.
I joined the company in July of '08, and by September, pretty much there were no sales to speak of. One of the partners, who was the general contractor and project manager at the company, cleaned out the bank account for over $1 million and disappeared. Wow. Yeah, they didn't catch him until 2012. So it's a crazy story. But what ended up happening was it was really damage control and all hands on deck. So they kind of promoted me to just be an assistant project manager because I was reliable, I was dependable, and I was showing up every day and they were paying me. So like, hey, you ain't gonna do sales, but can you just kind of keep an eye on the site and kind of be our eyes and ears in the field? And that's exactly what happened. And I did that for a couple of years. They pretty much stabilized everything, but by the end of 2010, it was clear that, you know, the company wasn't going to make it. The bank kind of forced the sale of all the assets, and the founder of the company took me with him to commercial lending. And so that's kind of my journey from agent to investor. I did a bunch of flips along the way and got into lending, and just wanted to kind of give you guys some context of my background. So I've done a lot in real estate, and today I work with crowd lending. I'm a loan originator there, and we've done over $100 million this year. It's our best year ever in hard money loans for investors. Even some folks in this room, Marsha Lee, congratulations. We closed on our first deal together today. Thank you for the opportunity, and Dexter made the introduction, so thank you, Dexter. I really appreciate, you know, all the support, you know, that collectively we give each other to continue to learn and grow in the industry. So that's my story, and that's what I got going on these days.
Well, talk about, because really what I want to have Rob talk about is now he's a wealth of information just from what you heard of on the lending side, and then he's also an agent, or matter of fact, he's a broker. He's not just an agent; he's in broker. He owns a brokerage, and then construction, and so he has a lot of different expertise that I think as a group that we can pull from. But the thing I really want to hit on was really the hard money, because it's probably the biggest question I'm asked all the time is, what is hard money? Why should I use it? So on and so forth. So talk to us about what is hard money? Why should someone use it? And then really, how does it fit into your portfolio, or how your game plan as an investor?
Understood. Great question. And I think for most folks, when they hear the word hard money, there's a jolt of fear that comes in. They think loan shark. They think they're going to take my house. They're going to take advantage of me. And, you know, at the end of the day, it's just another vehicle you can leverage to grow your real estate portfolio. And I kind of look at real estate like a relay race, right?
Okay.
You got your first leg all the way up to your fourth leg. If you're looking at hard money, it really will be the first leg of the journey. It's capital that you can use short term, you know, up to a 1 year term. You can, sometimes we'll go up to 18 or 24 months, but typically it's a year long, and it really just gets investors into the game. So it's ideal for fix and flips. It's also ideal for anyone who's thinking about buying an investment property that needs work, and primarily because a traditional bank or conventional loan, they're not going to give a new investor a loan to do the work. When they see work that needs to get done, they think risk, and they think, nope, we don't want any part of it. You know, you try to go into a bank as a new investor to get a fix and flip loan, and they're going to turn you out quick. They're like, no, we don't do that. You know, believe it or not, some of our best lead generators are bankers, because they quickly want to get that person out of there and get them to someone who can help. Wow. And so that's something that, you know, we do purposely. We network with bankers, but fundamentally it's designed to where you can get in, you know, with anywhere between 10 to 20% down. So the down payment sometimes can be a bit of a challenge for some investors. At Crowd, we do start off at 10% down, so that makes it a little bit easier. But you know, by doing that, we also will fund 100% of your construction. We don't shy away from rehabs. We don't shy away from new construction or distressed properties. And so that's really where hard money can help you get in. And then most importantly, it's not based on your credit, your income, your tax returns. It's primarily based on the asset, on the property. So it's hard. That word hard and hard money stands for a hard asset, as opposed to not really focusing on the asset, focusing on you, which is what the bank does. So that's kind of the difference.
And I think, because Robert said a lot, because I think a lot of times what we do when we're looking to borrow money, we have a traditional lending hat on. And so when you go to someone and such as yourself and you start talking about hard money and you look at the interest rate and you look at what you're trying to get done, it doesn't compute. And so you really have to talk people. Well, a lot of times I've talked people off the ledge.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the terms.
Yeah. They were like, why? And it's like, well, if you're thinking like an investor, because part of what this group is all about is obviously teaching you how to invest in real estate, but it's also teaching you how to think like a wealthy person and how to think as a financially literate person. And wealthy people are not concerned about the interest rate. They're concerned about how fast am I going to be able to get in and out of this project. And then what you said was critical is that this is a relay race. So once I get dumped a project, now I'm handing it off to someone who may be, depending on what you do, it could be a traditional lender.
That's correct. Yeah, no, I think that's a great point you bring up, Dex. I mean, a lot of folks kind of look at the numbers and it's like sticker shock. But the reality is if you use it right and it's short term, you really limit your exposure to the higher rates. So, for example, our rates right now are between 12 and 13%, depending on the deal. Let's just say 12% for argument's sake. It comes down to basically 1% per month, right? So if you're 12%, you hear that big number, but if you're only in the deal for 3 months, you're only paying 3% in total interest before you kind of refinance into a traditional loan. So that's something, I think that's a big misconception when people hear that.
A huge misconception.
Right.
Huge. Because you think about, well, traditional is around 8 now anyway.
It is. Yeah, it's higher. And yeah, once you start going to commercial loans and renovation loans and construction loans, they're upwards of 10%.
Okay.
Yep.
So you're almost comparable.
Correct.
Gotcha.
We're in at 12, 13. We're comparable. But when you look at a traditional loan, you're typically going to need anywhere from 45 to 60 days to close. With us, we can close in as fast as 2 weeks, a week. Like you tell us what you need, and if we got the capital available, we'll get you in the game very quickly.
And I think that's what, I was on the phone with a couple the other day, and we were talking about their particular deal. And so they didn't need it right away. They were going to close in I think in January or so. And so
right.
Like, okay, well, you can go traditional.
Correct.
But I recommended, I said, keep the hard money lender in your back pocket. Because sometimes with traditional lending, things happen. Well, they can't do the deal last minute, and then now you're scrambling. Man,
so I got stories, and that's what's literally happening now. Can I tell the story quickly?
Tell it.
So I have a borrower. He's well qualified, has a great relationship with his banker. He was looking to acquire property in Gloucester. The banker he was dealing with, his loan officer, said, "Oh yeah, no problem. I got you covered." So he's going through thinking everything's fine. Deal was supposed to close a week out. Underwriters looking at the files like, "Oh, you see your credit dipped a little bit. Sorry, right now we don't have the liquidity. We need you to come up with 50%. And initially they had told him he would only need to put 25% down. So he's scrambling around trying to buy this house up in Gloucester, going crazy. One of his friends says, "Hey, you should call Rob and see what he can do for you." So we were able to get that deal done within a very short amount of time. He needed to close within a week or two. So we said, all right, he ended up getting an extension, so we would close in 2 weeks. But we were able to get him the financing he needed. He only had to come up with 20% down. Actually, we ended up doing 22.5 instead of 50.
Okay, right.
And he was in the game, and you're seeing that more and more these days because of the fact that the banks are struggling with liquidity. I don't know if you guys kind of see it in the news, but with rates going up, folks are able to take their money and put it into some of these money market accounts and these other financial vehicles and get 7%, 8% return passively. And so they're taking money out of the bank. So the banks are fighting to keep depositors, but at the same time, they need to keep a certain level of cash reserves in order to keep lending. And so now they basically raising the bar so that they can say no more and more. You know what I mean? So when folks come in there, it's not like it was a year or 2 years ago. They're really looking to raise that bar so that they can actually hold on to more of their cash reserves so they don't get in trouble with the federal government.
Exactly.
And they really, again, don't want to give loans as much as they did. So it creates an opportunity for folks like us who provide private capital.
Right. And I think that is, just looking at it overall, you'll need a relationship with somebody like Rob and obviously a traditional lender. And I believe in the Noah's Ark theory, having 2 or 3 of everything. So I know Rob is probably my number one guy, but I got 2 or 3 other guys who, I've built a relationship with. I think we had Julio was here our very first session, so he's a guy that I talk to from time to time. Luke Hanscom is another guy, and so because every lender has its own criteria and what they like to lend against.
Great point.
So I know some guys, they don't want to deal with anybody who's inexperienced. So if you haven't done 3, 4, 5 flips, they don't even want to talk to you. They're like, Go talk to Rob. But then there are individuals who, hey, look, we like new guys, new flippers or new people in the game, as long as they have a strong team. And so that was one of the conversations you and I had.
Absolutely.
Is as long as the contractor team is strong and the surrounding people around you, they'll work with you.
100%. No, and it's funny you mentioned that, Dexter, because I think a lot of folks think that all hard money lenders are equal, but
And they're not.
we all have totally different appetites for different types of deals, different areas. Like for example, one of the things at Crowd that we don't do is we don't finance commercial properties. If you have, let's say, a building that has offices on top and a retail space on the first floor, we won't finance it. It's just not in our wheelhouse. Now, I have friends who will do it. There are plenty of other hard money lenders in the city and in this area who will do it. But that's an example of something we won't do. I have another friend of mine from high school who's a fellow hard money lender in the city of Boston. He requires bank statements. We don't require bank statements. So like if folks don't want to show liquidity for whatever reason, you can have your money tied up in projects. I got one guy right now, he's doing multiple flips, that'll probably sell for north of $3 million each. He doesn't have a lot of liquidity because all his money's kind of working for him.
Right.
So in those instances, you don't want to necessarily have to show bank statements in order to qualify. So I think it's just important to understand, really build a strong team around you, from your realtor, to your lender, to your attorney, to your mentor, to make sure you're really setting yourself up for success.
Yeah. The investing is a team sport. And if you look at a real estate transaction, the amount of people who are in it, from the realtor, wholesaler, basically, however you find a deal to the time that you get to the closing table, and then how you fix it up and flip it, or even fix it up and keep it, for your own portfolio. It does take a lot of people getting involved, and people like Rob and other folks are people that you want to have on your team.
Absolutely.
Question. Well, let's open the floor for questions. Anybody got one? Who has the microphone? No, I think Kendra had it in her hand at one point.
It's on its way.
Eddie has it right now.
Hello.
Hello.
My question is, if you wanted a hard money loan, what is the criteria? I know you said you don't take the bank statements, but what other criteria are you looking at?
Great question. So we're primarily looking at the property. So for example, if you want to buy a property, we need to make sure that between your purchase price and your renovation loan, we're no more than 70% of the total after repair value. So typically I tell investors to take a look at the property, estimate, or have your realtor help you with the CMA to estimate what it's going to be worth after the work is done.
Right.
Multiply that by 0.7 to get 70% of that value, and then that's the maximum loan amount that we can provide. And then in addition to that, we have a minimum down payment of 10% down. So minimum, what we call LTC, a loan to cost. So no matter what, you'll have to bring at least 10% to the table, even if you're getting a deal at 60% of the ARV or 50% of the ARV. And that's really it. And then as Dexter had alluded to earlier, he said the team, right? Like if you've never done a project, we can't vet you because you don't have experience. The next best thing is to vet your contractor to make sure that your contractor is capable. And I'll tell you something, the other day, we just did a loan for someone, and I saw he's great guy. He's has some experience in construction, but never did a project or a flip. He sent me his estimate from the contractor, and I looked at it. I was like, man, these numbers, way too high. I said, you called it, man. The numbers are way off. And so I went and I said, let me make this realistic based on my experience and what I know, because I've done over 45 projects myself.
And also, you're a GC.
Yep. I'm a licensed contractor as well, right?
This brother do it all.
I don't do GC work,
but you're licensed.
But I am licensed, right? And I have in the past GC jobs, but just having that experience allows me to kind of really protect you, right? And look at things and make sure you're good. So when I kind of redid it and he sent it back to her, she was kind of like caught off guard. She's like, well, what about this? What about that? He's like, well, those were like, she had all kinds of stuff in there that didn't belong.
Right.
And when he kind of pushed on it, she kind of conceded, all right, I'll make that work.
I'll do it for that.
Yeah, it was like an extra $80,000, man.
I'll do it for that,
Yeah, but it ended up working out. He called me yesterday to thank me. He's like, Rob, thank you so much for doing that. I didn't really catch that stuff in there, so I really appreciate it. And she's a good contractor. Don't get me wrong. I saw her track record of work and the pictures and everything, but yeah, that's really what we look at. We look primarily at the property itself, the values there, and then the team that's behind the deal. And then if it's in an area we lend in. So we lend in all of New England. We will go to Florida, but we'll only follow you guys to Florida, if you know what I mean. So we have borrowers who own properties in Massachusetts and Florida. Those are the borrowers we tend to work with down south. Yep. Yes.
Hi, my name is Janelle Stevens. I'm
Hello,
actually
Janelle.
the real
realtor.
estate agent for Marshallee.
Oh, beautiful. Nice.
Yes.
We talked. Yes, yes, yep. I'm like, I know that name.
Yes. And so just a follow-up to the question that you just said about the criteria.
Yes.
This is my first experience dealing with hard money. And my understanding was I thought you did all the pre-work before you say okay to
Gotcha.
the house. But with this, in this particular case, situation, I know there was an appraisal that was done
Yep.
after the fact and all of that stuff. That feels like it was determined in the criteria after the fact. So
Gotcha.
Can you just
I'll be,
explain
yeah,
that to me?
that's a great question. So the good thing about working with me and my team, we already ran the numbers before. So the appraisal is more of a formality. Yeah, typically we do desktop appraisals. I know that Marshallee wanted to do something different, get the condo valuation as well. So it required a little bit more due diligence and work. But typically, we've already kind of looked at the numbers, looked at the deal, and we knew that the numbers would work. Yeah, so, but there is, I'm glad you said that. We do pull a title. We will do a desktop appraisal. We will do a full interior appraisal if it's required, if there's any discrepancies.
Right.
But typically, we don't do that. And usually the desktop's done within 48 hours.
Right.
Yep.
So I know I have the mic, so I'm going to ask one more question.
Sure.
You can do hard money if the money makes sense and everything like that. However, should you check before to make sure that you qualify for a loan? Because when it's time to do a refinance, what happens if you don't qualify?
That's a great point. So we have that happen a lot with borrowers who maybe didn't finish a project on time, so it goes over the year mark. Maybe that credit's not where it needs to be. So there are alternatives to hard money that aren't conventional loans. You have what they call DSCR loans, debt service coverage ratio loans. Those are for more multifamilies and investment properties where they're not looking at your bank statements or tax returns. It is primarily based on your credit score, and the property has to be fully stabilized, fully rented.
Okay.
But that's an alternative to hard money. Basically, it's like a stated income loan, essentially.
Okay.
But you do need a minimum FICO of about 620 for most lenders who do that type of financing to qualify. Now, let's say you don't qualify for that. You can get an extension, but it becomes expensive. Like
Right.
with us, built into our term sheet, you can extend for 1 point a month. But usually if we know there's going to be a need for a longer term, we just have a conversation. You call me up, hey, Rob, I need more time. I say, all right, we can usually do 6 months for 2 points.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can extend the hard money. But again, you just got to make sure it works for you. And then the other option is obviously just to sell the property. Yep. No problem. No, great questions. Yeah.
And I think, but that's a critical point
Yeah,
to mention is you want to have multiple exit strategies.
absolutely. I tell everyone that.
Believe me, because
Yep.
anything could happen, and so in your mind, because actually one of the people who was sitting very close, like we were like going back and forth as to what was going to be the exit strategy. Am I going to keep it, fix it, and flip it? And so remember, what do we say we're doing here? We're building what? Wealth.
That's right.
And so sometimes wealth means you may have to change your strategy. You went in going this way, and then you figure out you have to go another way. And so that's why knowing your numbers up front gives you enough leeway, wiggle room. So, you know what? The market changed on us, which it did over the last few months. It was this way. The next thing you know, you go over here. And so now you got to have a different strategy. And so that's why, and just my opinion, Rob may be a little bit different, but he has more experience than me. So, but this is my show, so I'm gonna say it.
It's all good.
I was there.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
Yeah, right. No, but I'm saying, to me, I think the number one thing you have to do is you have to buy the property right.
I couldn't agree more.
Going
Couldn't
in,
agree
you
more.
got. I was talking to somebody like, yeah, well, can we do this and can we do that? Because when you're desperate or you knew you want to get in the game, and sometimes you'll make a mistake. And I'm just like, no, the numbers are the numbers. So if it doesn't match up with that criteria, you just 70% and all that,
Yep.
just walk away and go find another one, because who knows what is going to happen. And now we're going in the year 2024. We got a new election coming up, and who knows, we got a war going over in Israel. And so all of that impacts you and I, correct?
Yep.
And so that's why having multiple exit strategies and be conservative with your numbers.
Yes.
Sometimes people are very aggressive with it. Well, it's going to sell for 450. It's going to sell for like, well, no, I'm looking at the lowest comp to see if it meets that criteria. So I will still be able to either make money or, to your point, keep it or do whatever. So
Yeah, something I want to add to that, Dexter, with the exit strategy point, and really kind of looking at real estate objectively, is don't get attached to the property. I know
Right.
it's hard, especially when it's your first project. I remember the
Yeah.
very first project I ever did. One of my best friend's brothers put like $10,000 into the deal. We raised the money to do the deal, and he wasn't directly involved in it, but he was there every day checking on it. Really took pride in it, which
Right.
was great to see. And at the end, he was shedding tears. He was crying on the site. Like, I'm like, man, all right, I see you, brother. I appreciate you. You know what I mean? But
this is a real estate transaction for
I'm
you,
like,
right.
I'm like, thankfully, he wasn't a decision maker.
Right,
He would have been
right.
holding on to that thing into foreclosure. But I really encourage folks to really look at it like a business, right?
Yeah,
And if you are
That's a
serious
nugget.
about it
That's a nugget.
and looking at it from that lens, you're gonna start with the exit strategy.
Right,
And I always
okay.
tell folks that, right? You're looking at it, you're buying it right. You're making sure that, number one, if your exit is going to be to sell it, that you can sell for a profit. Number two, if you're looking to refinance, depending on what it is, you might have to rent it via regular rental. You might have to look at doing short-term rentals.
Okay.
Like just having different options for you to be able to stabilize that property and refinance it. And then number three, it's fire sale, selling it as is and selling it at a loss to basically save whatever little you have and can get back in the property. And that happens, right? Folks
Yeah.
kind of get in over their heads, and there's different ways to do it. And the one thing I'd say, working with the right lender, we're your partner. We're not here to, crack the whip, say, we want to take it. Like I have a young borrower doing his first new construction deal, and he really got in over his head. And rather than him running for the hills, we tried to raise money from some other sources, didn't work out. He doesn't have a lot of liquidity, so we just restructured the loan. We're paying his contractor and subs directly, and we're gonna get him to the finish line.
Okay.
So I think it's important that you're working with a lender that kind of has that mindset to ensure that you finish the project. It's not an emotional thing. It's about what makes sense. We don't want to take the property back.
Right.
We're not in the business of doing project. We can do
Exactly.
them, but we're
You don't
trying
want-
to
that's not what
lend
you're trying
money.
to do.
Like
Yeah,
this
exactly.
is not
Right.
that time. So
Yeah.
just keep that in mind when you're out here, looking to work with folks and kind of, just kind of setting your mind when you're looking at real estate. Yes,
Another
Victor.
question.
Yep.
Victor, what in your mind, or both your minds, what consists of a great team? You said that a few times, and I want to get your mind on what you think consists of a great team that can help a new investor, someone new to the game.
I'll tackle that first. Yep. So what I'd say is starts with consistently being able to find deals
Yes.
and evaluate deals.
Yeah.
And so what I noticed, right, if you go on YouTube, you'll see a lot of younger investors trying to be, Mr. Real Estate doing everything, right? Mr. and Mrs. Real Estate, they want to find the deal. They want to run the comps. They want to put it under. But the thing is, they don't have the experience, right? They don't have that. They're just learning from YouTube University, which is good. It gives you great exposure. And it gives you a lot of insight onto what the process looks like. But actually doing it is totally different. And so I've seen a lot of folks who have that strong knowledge base. They're very intelligent, get stuck and get in trouble on deals because they get in over their heads. So what I'd say to kind of dial it back, you need someone on your team who can help you find deals and run comps so that you're not relying on just your intelligence or your gut instinct. You're relying on a local expert. And that person's typically a
Right.
realtor like Janelle here that knows how to find deals, whether it's on MLS or off market from her team or her network, and then knows how to run comps for you to kind of set you up for success. So that's the first piece. Then obviously you need a good attorney who can kind of overlook the paperwork, make sure you're doing it right and everything's in a row where you're not overly exposed, putting up money and losing a deposit unnecessarily, right? That's just a basic way that people kind of get hurt on deals if they kind of want to back out. So, that's another piece. Then comes the lender. You want to work with a lender, obviously, that fits whatever that need is. If it's hard money, if it's a traditional lender, if it's an investment property, or you need a commercial lender, you want a lender with experience with that specific asset class. And I think those are really the key components of building a strong team, because now you can source deals, you can kind of negotiate deals and be protected. You can get them funded and get them closed. The attorney will be there to close the deals as well. So I think those are kind of the three basic pieces you need to ensure that you can actually start and successfully grow your business.
I wouldn't add anything to that.
And then other piece with contractor, right? You got
Somebody to fix it. Yep, somebody. Yep. Definitely somebody.
So
somebody
can't forget
to
about
fix
the
it.
contractor, right? You
which,
gotta have
which
that.
you sort of hit on just a little bit, but
Right.
yeah, so if you're recapping, someone to help you find deals, monetize, comp them. So I look at like finding, funding, monetizing. So how do I find my deals? How am I going to fund them? And then what's my exit strategy? You
Right.
know, and so that's sort of how I think about real estate. And actually, I've shared that with you guys one time: find, fund, and monetize. You know, and the only thing I would add to what Rob said is I would have multiple of everything,
Right.
because the contractor we had do our first 2 or 3 jobs, he moved to North Carolina and just like, what the heck?
Yeah.
I was happy
been
for the
through that.
brother, but he moved. And so Kendra and I are scrambling like, oh my God, who are we going to find? You know, and so the last couple projects we've done now, we've expanded our database just because of something like this we're doing, and then we met a whole bunch of other people. You know, so I tell people, you're always looking for good people. So matter of fact, sometimes I'm driving my car and I see a truck, I'll take a picture of it. Now, I haven't called any of them, or I'll call somebody in the garage, because to me, first of all, referrals are the best way to know somebody.
Yep.
But you know, you're always looking to have 2 and 3 lawyers and 2 and 3 contracts, because just say your contractor's busy. He got 2 or 3 things going on, but he can't he can't work with that. Actually, that conversation we had the other day. You know,
schedule.
Their schedule. You
Yep.
know, so not that they don't want to do it, but they're all out as it is. You know, and so
And something else, contractors get old. I'll be honest with you, right? Like, I had a contractor, I worked with him for 10 years. He was great. Everything was good. But as he aged, his knees literally started breaking down. Every day,
Right.
his knees are swollen like balloons. He's icing them. I can't
Dude,
get up the
dude,
stairs
like I'm
anymore.
retiring. I quit.
Right.
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
they retire.
They
right.
retire.
That's the other side of it, because
Yep.
it's a very physically
It's
demanding.
demanding.
Yeah,
You're
job.
up at 6 or 7 o'clock in the
Correct.
morning. Yeah, no,
Depending on your
it's
role. Now,
rough.
you got older GCs who have a lot of young guys working with them, but lately it's been really hard for contractors to find good help. And so a lot of contractors end up still getting back out in the field and doing the work themselves, even though they kind of past their prime.
Right.
And that's where you'll see it's time to start looking for other guys, because if that slows your job down,
Yes.
it slows your cash flow down, you're paying more interest,
Ugh.
it can end up hurting you in the long run. So like Dexter says,
Ugh.
definitely have multiple
You better have
multiple
them.
folks kind of in your network.
And because sometimes some people they don't want to go. So I got some guys. I don't go down there.
Right, that's another thing, right?
So I'm
Yep.
working in New Bedford. The guys, I don't go that far. Okay, so if I got a project in New Bedford, but I live in Hyde Park, and so you're always looking to come to meetings like this, and network. You have Home Depot and all that. Ask them, what do you do? Now you have to vet them and everything else.
Go
But
look at those jobs too.
yeah, exactly.
We found some good guys like that. Actually.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
yep.
So
Found some good
it's
guys.
people everywhere if you look for them. So and then you get a lot of time. Well, my cousin is a contractor. Well, you and your cousin may have a falling out. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes business and family don't mix. Sometimes,
Right.
you know what I mean. And so if that happens, what do? And so you're always looking to expand your roster of individuals.
I'd say the best subs we have right now, because I'm a GC, so we're all kind of looking for subs. Subs, we live in Milton, and we found in our neighborhood. Oh, subcontract. I'm sorry. So a general contractor. No, great question. Yep. General contractor is someone who has a license to manage the construction of a house, right, of a building or a renovation of a property. Subcontractors are the contractors that work under the general contractor, such as your plumbers, electrician, your
Carpenters.
HVAC technicians,
Right.
and anyone who does actually the other trades other than the carpentry and the framing.
Okay.
And so, and painters, there's a subcontractor as well.
Okay.
Sometimes the GC will do the painting as well, but we found some really good framers and different contractors, subcontractors, just driving around our neighborhood, because over the
Right,
last few
right.
years,
True.
there's been a lot of construction going on for homeowners that are tearing houses and rebuilding them. So the best way to know how good a contractor is you see they show up every day, you look at the house, it looks good to you, you're seeing them work, and you go in and you start talking to them.
Right.
Like, oh man, what do you
Right.
do? Oh, you did,
True.
oh my goodness. So
True.
we found some really good subs just kind of driving around in neighborhoods that are in close proximity where our projects are, and just examining the work right on the spot. It's like the best interview. You
True.
can't hide, right? You see some shoddy looking stuff, you're like, nah, this isn't the guy for me, So, yep, that's another great way to find good contractors. Yes, Marshallee.
So Bobby mentioned a DSCR lender.
Yes.
Were you talking about a regular bank, like a conventional loan, or were you talking about something else?
Yeah, something else. So regular loans, typically banks, they'll have a traditional underwriting guideline that requires them to look at your credit score, bank statements, and tax returns. DSCR loans, they're not looking at tax returns or bank statements. It's strictly based on your credit and they basically go with whatever income you say you're making. And so it's a different, very different underwriting from a traditional bank.
So who would do that?
Exactly.
Is that,
I'm ask you the same question.
yeah,
Yeah.
is it the bank who's doing that, or is
Or
it
is it different?
someone like, an
So
organization like yours?
partner. So what happens with DSCR products? We internally at Crowd can do DSCR loans because we partner with like a national private bank. So it's bank financing, but it's not your traditional bank like a Bank of America or your East Boston Savings. It's not the local or traditional banks. They're basically strictly mortgage banks.
Okay.
Yep. That provide these types of products. And
So I mean, we would come to somebody like you, and then maybe you can make the connection for a DS.
So we do it internally actually at Crowd.
Okay.
So we can do
Okay,
it there. I know Leader Bank does because they're direct lenders. They
Okay.
do it as well. I have a friend at Radius Financial. They do it as well. So there are a few of the smaller private banks and direct lenders who offer this.
Got it.
Yep.
Can I just ask a follow-up to that? What is
Yes.
the interest rate on those loans?
So they're not as high as hard money. They're not as low as traditional. So they're right in the middle. Right now, you're probably looking at about 9% for a DSCR. Yeah, if your traditional mortgage was at 8, it'd be about a point higher.
It's not too bad.
Yep. And that really depends on your credit. If your credit's on the lower end of the scale, it could go up to 9.5, 9.75. It rewards, if your credit's good, you get obviously a higher rate. And if it's poorer, you get a lower rate. The thing with DSCR is they're flexible. You can get a 30-year fixed product. You can do a 5-year, 10-year product.
Okay.
They're very flexible. So it's not, hard money's more, you pretty much got 1 or 2 or 3 scenarios. DSCR is just kind of all over the place. The biggest difference as well is they typically always have a prepayment penalty because they want to lock you in. Especially if you're getting a better rate, there's typically a 5-year prepayment penalty on those.
Okay.
And year 1, they hit you with 5 points if you refi. Year 2 is 4 points. Year 3 is 3. It kind of steps down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Got it.
By year 6, it's over. But yeah, it's a little bit more complex, but it is a great vehicle if you don't qualify for conventional financing. You need to get out of like a hard money loan.
Got it. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm
No
glad
problem.
you answered that because I was not confused. I just didn't know what I've seen it, but didn't know exactly how they worked.
Right. And the reason it's called that, so the debt service coverage ratio is really, it's a ratio of how much income the property's producing relative to how much debt you have on it, how much you're looking to refi or buy it for. Typically, they want to see that you're making at least 1.25 times the cost to carry the property in rents. So that's kind of what they look at when you do it. And you can obviously do the calculation. There's calculators online to figure that out just by inputting your rents and expenses. And it'll tell you what your ratio is. Sometimes they'll go lower, like 0.8, 0.9, which is below what the monthly mortgage and expenses are. But the rate will just be higher. And different lenders have different thresholds for that. Yep. Another question?
I'm sorry, I'm full of questions.
Sure.
With a traditional loan, they give you a month before you have to start paying.
Yes.
How does that work with hard money?
The same. And it's serviced monthly just like a regular mortgage. So if you close today, like as in Marshall Lee's case here, today's November, your first payment wouldn't be until January. Yep. Yes.
What thanks for what transitioning, Rob. Okay, so we looked at hard money, looked at what it is, criteria, where it fits in with us as investors. Talk about your experience as a flipper, because you and your wife. I mean, Rob is young, but he's a young OG.
I started early.
Yeah, he started. Yeah, so he's been. I mean, you've been in the business for 20 plus.
Yes, about 20 years now.
Yeah, about 20 years
20
or so.
yep.
So he had, like I said, he has a wealth of experience. And how I found him was flipping. A lot of his stuff that he was doing on YouTube and all that. You were showing your flips and all that. So,
Right.
So talk to, because I know a number of people here want to do their first flip.
Excellent.
And then also, I know you also, he has a podcast and actually a whole separate organization called Closers Club that helps people find deals too. So
Correct.
So talk a little bit about that. So talk about the flipping side, your experience of that, but then also talk about the Closers Club as well.
Excellent. Yeah. So flipping. When did I do my first flip? Yeah, it was 2009. So when I was at the new construction company, I learned a lot. Because I was spending a lot of time with the architect. Because I was there, I was a project manager, so I'm there every day. He's there every day, so we're talking. And he's kind of showing me the ropes
Right.
and really mentoring me and
Right.
teaching me how to look at plans, how to look at a job site. how to look at all the trades and get acclimated to what it takes to go from, a slab, a concrete to, 8 units, like the first project. Yeah,
right.
it was a 21 unit development. It was the very first project I ever worked on. So
Wow.
as a young 28-year-old kind of jumping into that, I was like, okay, it was great exposure. It was a great experience. And, that kind of gave me the confidence and kind of gave me the bug that, I think I can do this. And so for my very first flip, I didn't have a lot of income at the time, a lot of money at the time, but me and a couple of friends of mine pooled money together, and we ended up doing our first flip in Mattapan. I'll never forget, it was 33 Sefton Street, and we bought that property for $140,000. We put down, she had $140,000 in Mattapan.
he laughed. He's like,
crazy times.
sign me up for that like right now.
Right. It was a townhouse attached, but it was deeded as a single family. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. It didn't need much. Our rehab budget was only about, $20,000 because it was just a fluff. It was a foreclosure. It was listed on MLS.
Saw flip.
This was a different time, man. You can go on MLS and get flips galore back then. It was really, really, really strange when you look back at it. But we ended up buying it, and took us about, I'd say, 2 months to finish the work. Now, I had just started, and I knew a lot about construction, but my partner had a friend who was like a GC, so he came and was doing the work for us. And I'll never forget it. The first day on the job, the house needed to change some stuff in the kitchen. We needed to change the bathrooms, redo the floors. Right. It was a good amount of work, but the very first thing he started doing was painting. And if you ever done a project, painting is the last thing you do. You know what I mean? So like, my wife came in, and we came in together. She's like, what is this guy doing? First day on the job, what are you doing? Painting. He's like, I have to paint his hair. Like, but we got, have to make holes, run wires and little things, nothing crazy. But she's like, this isn't right. And, the first thing he said in front of me, he said, who wears the pants in the relationship? You or her? And I'm like, what the heck? This dude is like, this is like literally real true story. I said, man, get the hell out of here. Yeah. And I kicked him off the job immediately. And I ended up hiring the GC who was doing a new construction to do the job. So I just kind of share that story kind of just to tell you, even though you might have a little experiences, little stuff like that'll come up, and especially when you have partners and friends. I always encourage you to really, as we talked about, build a solid team. If I had to rely on my team, we wouldn't have had that experience. And my guy came in, banged it out in a couple weeks. Right. We ended up selling it, I think, it's like $250. Something that interestingly happened though at that time, and I don't know if you guys know this, but if you own a property and sell it before 90 days, the bank caps how much you can make on it. I don't know if you knew that. The bank for the buyer, so like traditional financing, they won't allow you to make more than 20% of the acquisition price. Okay. Yeah, so that's just something to keep in mind as flippers. A lot of folks don't know that. And that happened to us on our very first flip. So I think we were going to get 250, and we ended up having to get the number down lower to like 220 or something because we were at the threshold. But that's just something to keep in mind as flippers, that the seasoning requirements at banks, they kind of cap how much you can make.
Is that for FHA and conventional?
Yes. No, FHA and conventional, which is really strange. But I know why they do it. It's because it stops people from kind of flipping and wholesaling. It's really to stop wholesalers. Yeah, from making a certain amount. So if you can hold it for 90 days, you'll be able to make the profit beyond that. For us, we just want to get in and out. Right. But yeah, we ended up doing that first one, and then from there, our second one, we ended up buying. It was $80,000 for a 3-family in Dorchester in 2009. Unreal. Yeah, 5,000 square foot brick building for $80,000. Yeah, the biggest regret I have with that one is my partner and I. We were young in our 20s. We didn't know. We're like, oh, we'll just keep. And we bought a bunch after that, but we should have kept them. And that's what I'd say. Always kind of look at it to see if you can hold it first, especially if the numbers make sense on the investment.
That's a nugget there.
And they did. Yeah, we should have kept it. And we were just young. Like, there's going to be plenty more. And we bought a few more like that. But, eventually by 2012, 2011, that ride was over. Prices really started to tick off by 2012. And then, you see where we are now. Right. That house we bought for $80,000. We ended up gut rehabbing it. All 4 bedrooms, 2 baths each unit. We sold it for like $4.25. The gentleman who bought it from us, he sold it last year for $1.35 million. Yeah, so that just kind of tells you, and this is why I'm sharing that story. Definitely real estate will appreciate over time. It's just inherent. You just got to be able to hold on long enough to capture that appreciation and make sure you're cash flowing in the process if you decide to do that. But yeah, so from there we ended up doing a bunch of flips. We've done condo conversions. I did one in Roxbury in 2017 that is memorable because there were a lot of challenges on that project. It's not always straightforward. On that one,
Amen on that one.
oh yeah,
Have mercy. We in one right now.
yeah, that's what happens. It's real. It's real. It's not easy. It looks easy on YouTube and HGTV,
Right.
but in reality, real challenges come up. And so on that project, we were challenged by we had a driveway, and the neighbor's fence was encroaching on our lot. We had spoken to the owner. We had an agreement.
Okay.
Everyone's fine. Like, great. Looking forward to getting this done. We go down. We take the fence down. We promise to put a new one up, which we were going to do. And not the owner, but the owner's daughter just goes off the rails. Goes crazy, starts screaming at us, threatening us. And it just became very, very difficult.
Contentious,
yeah, contentious, to the point where she pulled a knife out on us. Yep. We had to file police reports. And the day we came to do the work, because we had to pave the driveway and get the curb cut done, she basically had a single person protest. She took a folding chair right on the lot line. I'm not going anywhere. So we had to call the cops. We called, boss BPD. They're great. I love BPD.
Oh,
they come out. They say, let me see your paperwork, sir. I show them everything. And they're like, everything's in order here. It's like, lady, you got to go. I'm not going anywhere. There's like, lady, if you don't get up, it's way too early in the morning to stop throwing old ladies in jail. But we're going to put you, that's where we're going to put you if you don't get out of here. And she ended up getting up and we were able to do the work. But it's just little things like that come up. And it turned out to be a great project in the end. I never forget one of the buyers, she bought one of the units and she saw it before it was done. But when she saw the finished product, that day she came in and just was in tears. She's like, I can't believe I get to live here.
Wow.
So it's really rewarding for me, personally, when we do these projects, to kind of take the worst house on the street and turn it into quality housing that really exceeds the expectations of the folks who are going to be living there or buying these units. So it's a great career path. You're doing good, while you're doing well at the same time.
Right.
So it's the best of both worlds. You're helping folks make some money in the process, and it's really a great win-win. So that's some of the stuff I've been through on my journey along the way, and there's plenty more. But any questions about flipping or anything like that?
Talk
Yep.
about because we talk about the flip. Talk about the finding, because in my
Yes.
opinion, that's the most important. So talk about some ways that you can find deals outside of say we're on market and off market basically.
Sure.
So
Yeah,
talk
absolutely.
off market stuff.
Yeah, something that we really have been very fortunate is we're always able to find deals, and it starts to me with your network. And I'll get into what we do to try to direct connect. But if you build a network of good realtors around you, or wholesalers or people in the game who are consistently around, people who are finding deals or people who need to sell, probate attorneys and things of that nature, people who deal with distressed assets, that'll really bode well for you. That's an easy kind of low-hanging fruit to really build a network around you. What my team and I have done over the years, we really do a lot of direct prospecting. So the majority of my flips before COVID were all short sales. And we basically pull that data for free on the state website of orders of notices that go out of foreclosure. You pull that data, and then we'd send a letter. And this is kind of like one of the secrets of the trade to make sure your letter gets opened. But we send a very simple letter just basically saying, we know it's it's a tough situation. We're here to support. It's really more of a solution-oriented approach. It wasn't
Right.
we want to buy your house.
Right.
We want to provide you with solutions
Options.
if you're facing foreclosure,
Right.
whether it's a loan modification, whether it's a short sale, whether you need to relocate. Like, we want to basically help you get that fresh start. But on the letter itself, we literally would handwrite the envelope and put no return address. And so that was really a great way for us to find this. Because think about it. If you get a letter in the mail and it has a handwritten address to you on it and no return, first thing I'm thinking, is this a secret admirer? Who is this, right?
Who is this?
Who is this, right? You're like,
Who is
what's
this?
going on here? You're going to open that letter,
You're like, who is
every
this?
time. And so my letters had a very high open rate. And it's just something simple, but that really helped us get a lot of deals, especially pre-foreclosures prior to COVID. Post-COVID, we really worked a lot of the probate lists. So you can pull probate lists from the probate court in Massachusetts, court records. A lot of folks, if you look online, will talk about this, but probate deals are obviously deals where people die without a will,
Right.
and the estate has to be probated in order to see who the rightful heirs are to the property. And so right now, that's really a great way to source deals. And what we do with those lists when we pull them, we skip trace the data. You guys know what skip tracing is?
No.
So skip
I do,
tracing.
but I'm saying that.
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
know what skip tracing
So
is.
skip tracing is a term that refers to basically getting a property address, getting the owner's name, and really kind of tracing their phone number and email. TruePeopleSearch.com is a website you can go to do it totally for free. And the data is pretty accurate.
Okay.
Yeah, I've paid big money in the past, but the thing about technology, as it evolves, it just gets cheaper and easier and cheaper and easier. So TruePeopleSearch.com, if you put in your number in there, it'll kind of pull up your information, your name. You know, our information is not as private as it once was.
It's not.
You know what I mean? So, True People Search. Yep,
TRUE.
Yeah, I think it's TRU. There might not be an E in it, but
Okay.
it's either TRUE or TRUpeoplesearch.com. But if you type it in, it'll come up. Yeah, True People Search. Right. And what you can put in there is you put a person's name, first and last name, and their mailing address. It'll give you their phone number. And then you can text them or call them and say, hey, and our script's pretty simple.
Right.
Will you entertain an off-market offer on your property? It's as simple as that. Yep.
And what I think that I tell people a lot of times is you have to do a lot of that.
A lot of prospecting. Yep. Absolutely.
A lot of it. I was at
Yep.
I was at a conference. Actually, it's on the screen right there. I was on.
There it is. Yep.
Yep.
True People Search.
Yeah. I was.
TRUE. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Yep.
With an E. Okay. I was at Tommy Jones conference. Who spoke?
Yes.
I was at
In
his,
Texas.
Yeah, in Texas. So I was his conference last Saturday, maybe 2 Saturdays ago, and he was going through his numbers, and he was saying, okay, we made. I think he said we made $1 million this year, but we worked 1,000 leads.
Yeah. No, it's real. And
then
yep.
he took us down through the process, 1,000 leads, how many people they actually talked to, yada yada yada, and then how many actual flips. So I think they were averaging somewhere between $50,000-$60,000 per flip, and then they end up that was the final number.
Yep.
But I think a lot of times people get discouraged because you don't get enough activity going.
Correct.
To get the deals, and so
Yep.
some of it may come probate, some of it may come through a realtor, some may come wholesaler. So you got to have your hand in a lot of different places. And this is, and he and I, because I did Rob's podcast like 3 months ago, whatever it was.
Yep.
And one of the simplest ways you guys can start prospecting is through your social media accounts. Let people know what you're doing. You know, I'm an investor. You know, so I don't put a lot of stuff in there about my dog and my cat. I don't even have a dog and a cat, but if I did, or I'm on vacation, no, let's begin to let people know that you're invested. So, as something as simple as this, you could take a picture of what we're doing right here and say, hey, I was at a meetup last night with the great Rob Nichols and the incomparable Dexter Jenkins. You know, and you put that on your social media, and people will begin to see. This is what has to happen for you. You have to be seen as the go-to person for real estate.
Correct. Yep. No,
So when you think so when I think real estate,
Yep.
I think Rob, or I think real estate, I think Dexter. Well, if I look at your social media, are they thinking 5 minutes? Are they thinking I'm on vacation? I'm over here with my kids? No. And even Janelle, I see her. Hey, I'm over here, such and such. I'm your realtor. Well, if I'm thinking real estate in Randolph, I'm thinking first off top of mind marketing, top of mind. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking her, and so. That's a real easy way for you to begin. If some of y'all follow me on LinkedIn, I'm always on LinkedIn posting, hey, I'm over here such and such, I'm over here such and such. And my wife be like, why are you taking pictures? Well, like, I got to be the marketer. See, because you listen, you're in a marketing business.
Correct. The marketing is the business.
Oh, exactly, dude.
Business.
This is a marketing business.
Right.
And so if you're not doing the marketing, you don't get to the point where you can make $1 million or even $2 because you haven't done the marketing on the front end. And so you gotta find ways. Now you have to do things that is comfortable for you. Now obviously you got to stretch this out of comfort zone anyway. But whatever you decide to do, you have to do enough of it in order for you to get the deals that we're talking about getting.
No, I agree with that, Dexter. I mean, I've gotten so many deals, especially when I was more active on social media, from like 2017 to 2020. From just posting. People like, hey, I got this off-market deal. You want to check it out?
Right.
Yeah, I've literally closed deals because of people
Yep.
finding me on Instagram. So there's a lot of truth to what you're saying. I've lived it.
Yeah. One of the guys to listen to and who I recommend, and Rob and I talked because he and I had breakfast a couple months ago, and one of the guys I follow is a guy by the name of Myron Golden. Follow him. Mm-hmm. But one of the things he talks about is this, making yourself findable. That everywhere that you can be found. So if it's on LinkedIn, it's on Instagram, it's on Facebook, it's on now, we got TikTok. You know, you have to make yourself findable, and not findable as someone who's just taking dumb pictures. Findable as someone who's a real estate investor, someone who's becoming financially literate. And so that's is just an easy way for you to get out there. And like Rob, the same thing to me. I get people texting me, hey, Dexter, I saw you over here. Do you do stuff in New Bedford? Or I got somebody who's looking for this, and so even if I'm not interested, I can make the connection. But that's because top of mind, obviously y'all know my passion, but also top of mind, people think I'm a real estate investor. And so I heard a guy a couple weeks ago say He said, man, and this is in Connecticut. So he's watched some things we're doing up here, and he said, man, you're a real estate mogul, aren't you? I said, well, I said, yeah, I'm a real I am, but that's just because I'm posting things everywhere as I'm out looking at houses. And so this is what some of you are afraid of. I don't know enough. Listen, nobody knows enough.
I'm still
He's
learning.
he's still
I'm
learning. 2 minutes. He's still learning. And so don't be afraid to listen. Put this down your notes. Document your journey. So Marshall Lee just closed on here. You should, from the day one, I'm closing today. Just walking through today. Because what you want to do is as you're starting your project, you're on number 2 now. 3, 4, and 5 are coming. Well, 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. Well, 3, 4, and 5 will come based on people seeing you do your project now. So since 2017, all Kendra and I have done is document our journey. That's it. And then did shows and did
And
events.
share it. Document it and share it.
And share it. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And so that's a big tip. Now we're wrapping up. We have
How do we get
1 minute. Yeah, exactly. So Rob, let everybody know how they can get in contact with you, social media, phone numbers, emails, and all that.
Absolutely. Dexter, thanks first and foremost for having me on tonight. The easiest way to connect with me, guys, is on Instagram, on LinkedIn. On Instagram, I'm at Robert L. Nichols. Again, at Robert L. Nichols spelled out. I don't post as actively. I'm actually going to get back to it and get some great content out there again. But you definitely can message me there, or LinkedIn, same thing. I post more actively on LinkedIn. I got a team behind what we do there. And that's pretty much it. I'm here to support folks who need funding. You have questions about getting into the game, about getting started, about managing projects. That's really where my team and I can be of support. And again, thanks for tuning in tonight. Thanks, Dex, for having me. And looking forward to doing more with you.
Yes, sir. All right, my people. So this concludes our session for tonight. Our next one will be, I think, December, what's the second Tuesday in December, 12th or something, or whatever it is. I think it's December 12th. Is that it, baby? Whatever it is, December 12th will be our next one. I think I got another mortgage guy coming in, so I don't know yet. So we'll see a lending person coming in. And then also in April of 2024, April 27th, you guys here, but also you guys are there. Save the date. We're doing our second annual Wealth Creation Summit. The first one was off the chain. Rob was actually one of the speakers.
I loved it.
So we're going to have a real good time. So put that in your calendar now. And actually, we're going to have an early bird special somewhere fairly soon. So we'll let you guys get in April 27th. So that's save that date. If you want to, you can go to the website and get on the waiting list because it's going. Listen, last year we sort of threw that thing together at the last minute and we had a full house. Having a whole year to plan, dude, it's going to be JP. So all right, love you guys. See you next month, and until next time, peace. It's a Canton. It'll be Canton, yeah. Not,